we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible.
There's Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday announcing a multi-state fraud task force in the wake of the Minnesota scandal. The federal government may have lost up to $520 billion, to fraud in federal programs between 2018 and 2022, according to the Office of Government Accountability. The House Oversight Committee holding a hearing which pressed Minnesota state lawmakers on the unraveling fraud case. My next guest is making criminal referrals from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison during the hearing. She's joining me right now. Florida Congresswoman Paulina Luna back with me. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And
nice to see you.
You're making criminal referrals. Tell us what they did criminally.
Yeah, so I actually have already made those referrals. The DOJ did confirm receipt of them. We actually know, according to witness testimony and then a number of other pieces of evidence brought forward, that both individuals knew about the fraud, that they either shut down investigations or intentionally ignored the red flags that were coming out. And then also, too, there's also allegedly a recording with Attorney General Ellison that's actually stating that he would basically ignore recommendations of HHS if he could get support from the Somali community. And so what we know right now is both of these individuals, I don't think that they are the top dogs, but I do think that this is the tip of the iceberg. And again, the White House just announcing their task force to go after this. I mean, I do think that this is widespread, but also I want to point out the fact that when you have elected officials, specifically, for example, in Minnesota, with the governor and the attorney general that are knowingly ignoring this is happening right underneath their noses, they're telling people or they are firing people that are speaking out about it, it's completely wrong, and this is corruption. I don't care if this was just a Democrat. I don't care if it was a Republican. I would have the same response. And I do look forward to what the investigation yields by the Department of Justice. And then I also look forward to the Department of Justice bringing criminal charges, because I think, as you're seeing now, Maria, they definitely exist.
And you think that they were ignoring it because they didn't want to upset their voters, because it's an important voting bloc there in Minnesota, the Somali community?
Most certainly, but I also think that there is likely, and I think that this is going to be something for probably forensic financial investigators with the Department of Justice. It is likely, too, that they were getting campaign contributions on the back end from people that were contributing or tied to some of this fraud. And then also, too, to go a step further, what I find even more disturbing, though, is that when people try to speak out against it, they were silenced. And so this is obviously something that needs to be investigated further. I do look forward to, again, finding the results of that investigation. And we do have public support for those criminal referrals, so the DOJ now has them.
All right, let me move on to what's going on across the world. The Senate advancing a bipartisan resolution yesterday to block President Trump from using military force within or against Venezuela until he gets prior approval from Congress moving forward. 5 Republicans joined all 47 Democrats on the vote. So I want to get your take on that, but also what's going on in Iran. The Iranian regime is on the verge of collapse. Flames are filling the streets of Tehran right now. Protesters are intensifying across Iran. Protesters are burning cars, government buildings, and the capital city while the regime looks to crack down. The Ayatollah addressed the protests this morning, hours after he actually cut off all internet access, so nobody could actually see how the people are in the street telling him they want him to be taken down. He's refusing to back down. In fact, he's accusing President Trump of sabotaging him. He told him, the Ayatollah told President Trump to focus on your own country. Congressman, what's your take on Iran? Tehran is gasping right now. Do you think this is the same old protests that we've been seeing, or do you think this is actually the start of something big where the regime could actually fall?
I do think that this is a start of something bigger, and I also know that even though the Ayatollah cut off internet, that I believe Elon Musk just a few days ago activated Starlink, so these protesters are able to get footage out and they can also see what's happening. But also, too, I don't think that President Trump is directly interfering in Iran. And so the fact is that for a long time that the Ayatollah has oppressed the Iranian people. I talked to many people, Maria, to include some of my own constituents that fled Iran, and I can tell you that every single one of them hopes that the Ayatollah eventually regime does fall because they see the horrors of what happens in Iran with the oppression of its own people. But moving to back to what you were kind of stating in regards to the war power resolution with Senate, I do believe that in these senators doing this, not only did they limit the authority that the president has constitutionally, but I don't actually believe the argument in that they were trying to prevent a quote-unquote war. First of all, we're not at war in Venezuela. Secondly, if they wanted to limit war power, the war power of the president, why have they not done it during any other presidency, specifically Obama, who is known to have made hundreds of strikes, killed thousands of people without congressional authorization? What I will say is that President Trump was well within his right. We had the federal indictment. We also know right now that he's meeting later on, I believe it's this week, with Machado, who would be the I guess you could say the resistance president or the rightfully elected president of Venezuela. But either which way, I do have faith that Rubio has a plan in check and that he and the president will work together to accomplish their mission. But it is very upsetting to see the Senate do this. Meanwhile, you have the massive fraud happening. Meanwhile, it does seem that many of these senators are controlled by corporations that benefit directly from this. We can talk about the insider trading probably separately, Maria. But for them to do this, I think, was a direct shot at the president.
Well, it's not, and it wasn't just Democrats. You had what? Several Republicans.
It was Republicans. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that was a direct jab at the president.
All right, Congresswoman, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you so much. Anna Paulina Luna, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll keep watching your work, certainly. We'll be right back. Stay with us.